Some of you may know this story, and it might be new for others. Braylen Noble. I'll share the story with you, but let me just start at the end with my little rant. Probation. This baby lost his life. They lied to the cops. They covered it up. And we're still supposed to believe that they didn't do anything on purpose. The judge is saying it's an accident. And accidents happen and people make mistakes, sort of thing. All true. But if my kid gets out of my house, makes his way to the pool, ends up drowned, and then isn't in the pool when the searchers search for him, but 5 days later shows up in the pool, and then later I'm arrested, and I basically admit to all of this, but I didn't kill him. And the judge says it was all just a big accident. And we're not even going to charge you with tampering with the corpse. The law says we can be understanding. So we understand. Probation. I'll share the video. No justice for Braylen Noble. Not from what I see.
Of Braylen Noble. He's the Toledo toddler, a 3-year-old that disappeared in 2020, setting off a huge manhunt.
Both of them sentenced to probation. They did have jail sentences as well, but those jail sentences were suspended. This, of course, all going back to the Labor Day weekend of 2020, when Braylen Noble disappeared outside of his family's apartment complex. His body was found in the pool a couple of days later. It was a frantic search throughout the community trying to find Braylen, but he was found a couple of days later in the pool. Now, the coroner's office never ruled the death a homicide. It was ruled undetermined.
This was not a homicide case. It was an investigation, but the evidence just simply didn't show that there was any foul play or that this was a homicide. This was accidental, and I think this is our society needs to know that you have 2 grieving women and a grieving family here because of an accident.
Dajnae Cox getting 2 years of that probation or community control. Bobbie Johnson getting 1 year.
The mother and grandmother of Braylen Noble will not spend time behind bars. A Lucas County judge ruled Monday. Young Noble's mother, Dajnae Cox, was sentenced to 2 years of probation for charges related to the 3-year-old's death 2 years ago. His grandmother, Bobbie Johnson, will spend 1 year on probation. The child was reported missing on September 4th, 2020, from a South Toledo apartment complex. His body was found 5 days later in the complex swimming pool, despite volunteers and officials searching the pool days earlier. Young Noble reportedly vanished from a 3rd-floor apartment shared by 2 women. Though both women told the police they believed the child fell from a window, Judge Ian B. English revealed that he had escaped through the front door before ending up outside by the pool. What most folks don't know is that the reason why this case was pending for such a long time was so that the state of Ohio and the defense could investigate all of the allegations out there, Judge English said, referring to intense speculations of the case on social media. The chief allegation that Mrs. Johnson is fighting against is this idea that she killed or participated in the murder of her grandson. A lie can fly around the world while the truth is still putting on its boots. But here are the facts, the judge continued. An autistic child with an aversion to water, despite the best efforts of his mother and grandmother, escaped the home, and just to make it a horrible tragedy, found himself at the swimming pool of the apartment complex. In that swimming pool, he lost his life. Miss Johnson, 52, pleaded guilty in September to obstructing justice, a first-degree misdemeanor. Ms. Johnson's charge was previously amended from what was originally a 5th-degree felony. She had faced a maximum of 180 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. Bobbie's crime was not a causation of that death, nor was it a factor in the occurrence, said Kurt Brutterly, Miss Johnson's attorney. In looking at the evidence, Judge, it is clear that this indeed was a tragic accident. I know that's not an answer the community likes to hear, but that's what the evidence shows. Mr. Brutally noted that the Lucas County Coroner's Office reported the young Noble's body showed no signs of trauma, foul play, or toxicology issues. In addition, the condition of the body indicated that he had been in the pool for an extended period of time. Because of the contents of the child's stomach, Mr. Brutterly said, investigators knew he died shortly after eating breakfast the morning he was reported missing. Though the autopsy report did not confirm a cause of death, it did note that submersion in water was a contributing cause. I know that it is difficult for some people to accept that this is a grieving family, and we ask that the court consider that and the fact that Bobbie is remorseful for her actions, Mr. Brutterly said. This has been a long process, Ms. Johnson said, addressing the judge during the hearing. Me and my family have grieved. We're still grieving, and we miss Braylen to the utmost. It just hurts. The child's mother, Miss Cox, 28, entered an Alford plea, not admitting guilt, to attempted child endangering, a 4th-degree felony, and obstructing justice, a 5th-degree felony. In exchange for the plea, the state reduced her charge from an original 3rd-degree felony child endangerment charge and agreed not to file a 3rd-degree felony tampering with evidence charge. Ms. Cox's attorney, Ronnie Wingate, also requested a sentence of community control for his client, noting that she now suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. She's now standing before the court suffering from a mental disorder, Mr. Wingate said. At some point, she's going to have to forgive herself for whatever role she has had in the loss of her child. Ms. Cox had faced up to a total of 30 months in prison, as well as a potential fine of $7,500. Though she was only sentenced to probation Monday morning, the judge noted that if she violated probation, she would be committed to jail for the full 30 months. Mr. Wingate called the situation a negligent act, noting that neither woman had any criminal history nor any bond violations. Ms. Cox choked up as she spoke to the judge, stating that she never intended to hurt her son. He was her pride and joy. Adrian Cox, young Noble's grandfather, and Ms. Cox's father gave an unconventional victim impact statement at the hearing. He asked Judge English to allow the women to rebuild their lives. What we suffered here is a loss, Mr. Cox said. It's tragic for one to lose a grandson, but to see my family go through what has transpired, it's heinous. It's been like a witch hunt. Though John Weglian, assistant Lucas County prosecutor, did not comment during Ms. Johnson's sentencing, he spoke up during Ms. Cox's. The reason for the investigation as a homicide was because this woman lied, simply for the reason that she didn't want to take responsibility for the fact that the child got out of the house on her watch, Mr. Weglian said, and the child died, and it was her fault. Judge English refuted Mr. Weglian's argument. Here's the bottom line. It's not easy supervising a child, he said. We cannot, as a society, start jailing parents who suffer the accidental death of children. We don't have enough buildings for that. Every day in this country, a child drowns, or is electrocuted, or is hit by a car backing out of the driveway. It happens all the time. Here's the trick. Regardless of what the world thinks or the impact it has, my job isn't to do what the community wants. My job is to do what the law says is fair.
That essentially ends this case now, and some people may not agree with how it ended, but that does end the Braylen Noble case.